Try to be quick. Good morning. Glad everyone could be here. David Walls with Texas Values and our legislative advocacy on Texas Values Action. We're a organization that works on faith, family, and freedom issues around the state, at the local level, here at the state level. But I'm going to share, hopefully I haven't beat a dead horse yet, but get a copy of our Texas Legislative Guide. This is a great resource that has all the contact information of elected officials here in Texas. It's got committee assignments, and it's got a lot of good information about how to effectively communicate with your legislator. And I'll kind of just highlight briefly some of the information in here and just some of the experience that we've had. Obviously, we're moving into the kind of very important time of the legislature. It's a great, there could not be a better opportunity for folks to make contact with their legislator. I mean, this is the prime time to be reaching out, to be in communication with your legislator on issues that you're passionate about. As we like to say, government belongs to those that show up, and so many times folks wonder whether making a phone call, sending an email, coming down here to Austin makes a difference. It does make a difference. It does make an impact, and know that your phone call, your email, your personal contact with the legislature they don't just view that as one person reaching out to them. They really view that as a kind of representative sample of their district, and so really you can make a pretty profound impact with just a few people that you're in contact with if you contact your elected official on an issue. In terms of kind of the most effective ways to communicate, obviously y'all are here in Austin for a reason. The most effective way to communicate with your elected officials is to do so in person, and I'm sure that's why most of y'all are here. I think something that I didn't mention last week, it's getting real busy. They're on the floor. Your members have committee meetings and so forth. It becomes increasingly difficult, perhaps, to actually meet them in person. But a lot of times you can meet with their staff, and don't. I encourage you to not see that as a slight or anything. A lot of times you'll meet with a staff member that may be directly over the issue that you're working on, and that may be the most effective person in that office to communicate with. Another good way, if you want to have some kind of maybe a brief face-to-face time with your legislator, is when they're on the House floor. If you go outside of the chamber, they have a little desk there that you can that they'll send a page in and say, hey, so and so from your district is here and would like to talk to you. And a lot of times they will have the ability to step off the floor for a minute and to come talk to you face-to-face. So as things get more busy during the session, that might be the actually most effective way to get a face-to-face meeting with the legislator, and it's also very effective because you're literally talking to them right when they could go on the floor, and potentially be voting on a particular issue. So encourage folks to do that. We are all the groups here are really the filing deadline has passed. All the bills have been filed. I'm sure all the groups here, us included, will be kind of repackaging kind of what our top legislative priorities are. We will send out a lot of information about with talking points and so forth on important bills. Always encourage folks when you go to meet with your legislator, go to meet to an office, to bring a one-page sheet. It might just be a sheet that we've provided, or one that you put together that's just kind of got some very straightforward talking points. It's always a good idea to leave a handout with whoever you meet with, and obviously encourage folks to communicate with all their elected officials and staff in a very respectful but direct way, and that's very important. I'm going to be mentioning here in a minute. We're going to be approaching where a lot of committee hearings and so forth going on. A very, very important way that you can make your voice heard is at a committee hearing. It's really easy to get involved, to just come, and they've even made it easier now. So when you come, say you're coming tomorrow, there's a State Affairs Committee hearing. There's a bill, in this case, that you probably will want to oppose. You can once you get on the Capitol grounds, if you have your cell phone, or you can go to one of the kind of iPad tablets, you can sign in remotely to say that you want to testify for or against, or if you just want to register that you're against the bill, and you don't even have to sign up to testify. But so that's an important way to be involved as well. And I know on a lot of issues that our organizations are working on, now's the time where we may be looking for expert witnesses or people that have experience with a certain issue. And if you are I'm going to be talking about a bill related to protecting pastors in churches. If you're a pastor, and you have the ability to bring a group of pastors to come down and maybe participate in a hearing on that bill, or to go around to your elected officials' offices or members on a particular committee, having that personal experience is a very, very important thing that can help advance your cause on the issue. So I think I've covered just about everything I wanted to. Was there any questions on any of that before I?
How important is it to, if you just want to go in and register, how important is it for them to stick around and testify, or is dropping the card, if you have a special story or special situation,
dropping the card, sometimes these committee hearings can last a long time, and you can have, that's an understatement, and sometimes you can have a long list of bills. There could be a lot of people that signed up to testify on your bill, and you may not know exactly what order that it's going to go in. So if you have a personal story that is directly impacting the bill, I encourage folks to the extent that they can, to make the time commitment to be there for the full committee hearing so that they can participate. And we do everything we can to try to give as much timing information as we can when these hearings come up. But we certainly recognize that sometimes that's just not feasible, and it is very important if you could just come in and say you're signing for or against a bill that we're supporting or opposing. That can be very, I can't tell you how many times we hear from legislators that they'll go back and because they put all this in the record, so folks can go back and look and see, well, how many people were there at the hearing, and how many people spoke for it, how many spoke against it, how many people signed in for it, how many people signed in against it. And while that's certainly not a representative sample, committee hearing room here in Austin is not a representative sample of the people of the state of Texas necessarily. A lot of times that can have an impact on kind of how committee members might gauge support and how intensely people might support an issue. So sometimes simply just signing in for or against a bill, if that's what you can do, that's very important as well.
Because those names, everyone, whether they testify or not, that position gets shown to all of them.
Right. Yeah. It's on permanent record. In fact, we were just doing this earlier this week, going back and looking at who had signed in for and against on a bill that we're working on this session that we worked on last session, and you can go to the record and see who signed up and for and against. And so that's it's a way to publicly make yourself kind of permanently there on where you stand on an issue. So important. Any other questions? Well, let me just try to quickly. I've got several things I want to update folks on. First off, I failed to mention this last week. Next Monday at 1 o'clock on the south steps of the Capitol, there's going to be a rally to support marriage here in Texas, a rally defending our Texas Marriage Amendment. As folks may know, the marriage issue is really coming under attack. There is the Supreme Court later here in a few months is going to be hearing what we have said could be the Roe v. Wade decision on marriage, where the Supreme Court might look to essentially strike down the marriage laws in all states, which we think would be extremely problematic. But we're doing everything we can here in the state of Texas to stand firm, and there's been some bills filed to help push back against that that we have highlighted. But encourage. I think there's something like 100 elected officials that have signed up to help sponsor this event. It's going to be on the south steps at 1, from 1 to 2, and encourage folks to be here for that. I know some folks here are planning on being here for Monday, and appreciate everyone that can make it. We sent out, and I don't know if, I think it's been passed around, we sent out an action alert yesterday with an update on 2 important religious freedom bills. One of them was one that was filed at the end of last week by State Representative Scott Sanford from McKinney. For those that don't know Representative Sanford, he's actually a pastor at a large church in McKinney. And again, with all these attacks on the marriage issue coming forward, we have been hearing from so many pastors, churches, really concerned about, what's going to happen if they, strike down our marriage laws. Are we going to be in a situation where we're going to be forced by the government to have to perform a marriage that doesn't agree with our religious beliefs? We've seen this in other countries already. We've actually already seen a situation up in Idaho where you had a pair of ordained pastors that, under an ordinance in the city, were essentially threatened to try to force them to perform a same-sex wedding. So Representative Sanford has filed a bill. It's HB 3567, which makes it very clear in state law that churches, pastors in Texas cannot be forced by the government to perform a marriage or related ceremony that would violate their religious beliefs. So important piece of legislation. I can't imagine how anyone could oppose that, but I suspect there will be people opposing it. So that's HB 3567. Encourage folks to reach out to their representative, ask them to sign on as a co-author of a bill. That's a way a lot of times you can kind of build momentum on an issue. Once you get a whole lot of co-authors on a bill, that shows the bill has support to move forward. I also want to just briefly update folks on one of our top priorities that I briefly mentioned last week, the Texas Religious Freedom Amendment that would put permanent protection for religious freedom in our state constitution. There's been some interesting, I really don't know how to describe it, very interesting situation. So the author of the House version of the bill, Representative Jason Villalba, Republican from Dallas, he had actually filed that bill very early on. The House version of it, the Senate version, is carried by Donna Campbell. I guess he was just not prepared for the pushback that he was going to receive on this issue. Obviously now, unfortunately, any of these issues that we're working on to protect religious freedom have become a very contentious issue because there are people who simply do not want to allow people of faith to operate their businesses, to operate anything according to their faith. And so early last week, the Texas Association of Business came out in opposition to the Religious Freedom Amendment because apparently protecting religious freedom is bad for business. I'm not really sure on that one. The question that I asked was, what other parts of the First Amendment are bad for business that we should just do away with? Free speech. I don't like, if I owned a small business, I wouldn't particularly like people talking bad about my business on Yelp. So I guess we should, not support the First Amendment in that way. But anyway, so because of that, Representative Villalba backed away from supporting his own bill that he filed. And so the good news is we had a true family values champion immediately step up. Representative Matt Krause from Fort Worth refiled the bill. And so the House version of the bill is now HJR 125. So HJR 125. And again, on the Senate side, it's SJR 10 by Senator Donna Campbell. And so we're continuing to encourage folks to contact their House member and Senate member and encourage them to sign on as a co-author. I think I've probably gone on enough. I will just mention that in the House State Affairs Committee tomorrow, there's a couple of bad bills that will be there opposing. One of them is HB 537 by Representative Anchia. This relates to removing mother and father references to birth certificates. Because I'm sure everyone here would love to be identified as parent 1 and parent 2 on their child's birth certificate. So that bill, so look out for that one, HB 537. And then there's also a contraception bill related to reducing, essentially taking away some parental authority and allowing minors to more easily access contraception that will be not supporting by Representative Gonzalez, and that bill is HB 468. So both of those bills will be in state affairs, and it is a little concerning that we're seeing a lot of really bad bills already in state affairs.
What's the bill number?
That's HB 468, and then the birth certificate is HB 537. All right, thank you.
Thank you, David, appreciate that.
Emily Horn from Texas